Zoning Subcommittee for the Revere City Council for March 27th, 2013. There's two matters on the agenda this evening. First matter is C-13-02. First of all, let me introduce the city councils that are here. Councilor Zambudo is not on the committee. Council President Novoselsky, Councilor Powers, Councilor Penta, and Councilor Patch, and the committee members are Councilor Arrigo, Correggio, and Councilor Janino, and Councilor Haas. That's Vice President Janino, and I am Stephen Rinn, Chairman of the subcommittee. Again, the first order of business is C-13-002, Lighthouse of Revere, Inc., for a permit to construct a three-story addition to a pre-existing non-conforming use as a nursing home within the RB district at premises located at 204 Proctor Avenue in Revere. Is anybody here to speak on that matter? Please approach the podium, turn the microphone on, give us your name and your address, please.
Bill Rich, 9 Woodbury Drive, Beverly, Mass., representing Lighthouse Nursing Care Center.
Thank you, Mr. Rich. If you would like to just review some of the points that the public that were presented at the public hearing, or if you have any new information, you can certainly present it.
At our last presentation to the council, we were requested to have our general contractor explain our plan of construction. Tonight I have the representatives of Northset Construction to go over our plan, and also our architectural firm is here to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Do any of the members of the committee, first and foremost, have any questions of the petitioner? Okay. If you would like to bring up your architect, maybe they will have some questions of him. And if he could state his name, turn the microphone on, state his name and his address, please. Business address is fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Again, my name is Norberto Leon, and I'm an architect with the architectural team. How would you like me to just introduce the project in general? Okay.
Yeah, if you could give us a brief description of the project. I know we heard it at the subcommittee level, just to refresh the members. I mean, at the full city council public hearing, just to refresh the members as to the proposal.
Okay. So we have an existing structure that is on the left side of this board here, the Lighthouse Residential Community Project, and we're going to be adding approximately 12,000 square foot addition to the north side of the building. It's going to consist of some additional bedrooms for the residents. We're actually expanding the number of bedrooms. The number of residents will not increase, but the number of bedrooms, the number of rooms will be increased. And we have, the addition will also consist of a dining room and living room area in the bottom floor. And it's a 3-story addition. We're going to be also adding a 3-season porch on the corner of Proctor Avenue, and also 3-story addition. And we're going to be completely recladding the existing building and with a hardy panel system. And the new additions will consist also of a hardy panel system and a brick bay at one of the entrances. So basically that's going to be the exterior additions that we're going to be making.
Thank you, sir. From the subcommittee, please, Councilor Haas.
I have a question to that diagram. Now, you're facing it from the parking lot, correct?
Yes,
all the construction will take place on the left side of the building?
facing the building.
Facing the building, right.
On the right-hand side and also the front facade.
So you're going to do both sides?
Yes.
Okay. The north side and the west side.
Just to clarify, We're not increasing the number of beds. We're looking to the future of healthcare, and Lighthouse is really cramped for space. So by adding on our second floor 12 beds to this area, we're going to decompress the existing second floor to have about 15 single rooms, which will give us much more space to accommodate today's needs. We're hoping, with the start of permitting, to hope to break ground in May. In fact, the timeline, our construction company will speak about the timeline.
In answer to Councilor Hass's question, if someone from the contractor would probably come forward, perhaps you could give us a little explanation of that. Thank you.
I just shut it off, see? It's over. The one thing I had to do right, and I'm going to get it right. My name's Tony Papantonis. I'm the president of NASA Construction, and my associate here is Mike Rimmel. Mike Rimmel will be the project manager on the Lighthouse project. We've been working on this project for over a year now with the folks at Lighthouse, just through the assisting through the design process and the staging process, and we're excited about breaking ground. Right now, we're looking at applying for a permit probably around the first week of April, and anticipate a 4-week permit approval review process. So with any luck, we'll be breaking ground probably around mid-May. And we're anticipating about a 12-month construction duration. Right now, the entire process will be staged on site. We don't anticipate any public interference with the roadways or sidewalks. We've gone over the staging plan with the Lighthouse. They've got a parking area that we're going to be using one of their parking lots for primary staging. And all access will be off or staged from the public road, but we don't anticipate taking any public ways or at all. And in terms of subcontractor parking, we know the parking is always a concern. We're fortunate that there is a city lot. Bill, I'm not sure the address of the lot. It's about a mile from the what's the lot? By the fire station.
The lot behind the bank.
The municipal lot, right. So we're going to be requiring that our subcontractors park and utilize that lot for parking to keep them off the streets. Essentially, if you want to know more about the construction, I mean, it's a steel frame building, so we'll be doing our excavating, May through June, starting to place foundations, and then we anticipate steel to start this summer and going into fall, and we're hoping to be weather tight by the time winter sets in, and then we'll run our finishes through May of 2014.
Thank you. Do any other committee members have a question? Council Vice President Janino.
Thank you. My only question is, have the owners of the abutting properties been notified about the addition since the original proposal was put before us?
It's on already. Because of the significant change from the first permitting to this other presentation, we went through the whole process all over again. So the mailers went out, all the neighbors, the abutters were all notified, all by the requirements of Revere City.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor Correggio.
Thank you, Chairman Reardon. There's really not much to say about the construction. It's a nice-looking building. Lighthouse Nursing Home has served the people of Revere for many years very well, and this will help improve the services the building has, bringing it up to date to modern technology, and it's a no-brainer. It's a win-win for Revere residents, and I would definitely be in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Correggio. Councilor Guanasso.
You mentioned that Bill, that the area residents were notified, and they were notified of what? Coming to this meeting, or they were coming to the initial public hearing?
The initial public hearing, and we had no opposition.
Right.
And they all, like I say, they received their letters.
They're aware that this is a
Yes, yep.
drastic change in the plans. This isn't just a little.
Well, it's adding, the footprint
Three
is
levels.
the footprint is the same.
The
With
height.
the two-story structure, it's
Right.
now adding the third, which equals the existing building.
Yeah, because I would, if I were a neighbor, I'd be concerned about the shadowing and stuff like that. But I haven't received any calls, and I abut the
We
ward.
really try to be good neighbors.
No, I understand that, and I
like I
haven't
said.
had anybody call me to say,
No.
offer an opinion.
I truly talk to, I'd say 60 to 70% of the neighbors.
I do know from previous experience in visiting the lighthouse that there were residents, not only relatives, but there were also friends of that live and reside in the city of Revere that were being cared for there. I went to visit them, and certainly to upgrade the quality of life that one has to go to when they experience that sort of activity. You want it to be the best because, they're in very, very serious need of service. So I look forward to a good product being developed. I know it will take a year, but certainly it's going to be beneficial to anybody who's in need. And I hope that you keep an open mind once you become so beautiful and handsome and great over there, that Revere residents first, because we do have
We're still very community oriented.
we have a very, very.
I was actually born in that building, so to be part of this
We
project.
won't use that against you,
You
Bill.
don't
That was
know.
the old part of the old Revere.
Which a
I
lot
got
of
one,
yous
my first operation was there, and I'm lucky to survive.
Very good.
But
Thank you.
good luck in the future. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Councilor Guanasso. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I take the opportunity every time Lighthouse comes before us to remind everybody that this is one of the premier nursing homes and rehabilitation facilities in this state, award-winning, and I've said before that I've gotten most of my calls in my 14-year tenure have been to help loved ones get into the Lighthouse Nursing Home. They're a good neighbor in many ways, in every way. They participate and give back to the city, and I think this project is only going to make them serve the citizens better, so I'm certainly 100% in favor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Penta, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just basically have a comment, because I thought, and I'm pretty sure I heard you're going to put steel building, you're going to use steel to go up that third floor?
Yeah, the building is...
That's fine, you don't have to answer. I commend you on that, because people, especially if you're near the water, you really don't want to see it. And you're so far away from it, you're still putting steel. I'm glad to see that. Thank you.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two questions and a comment. First of all, on the staging area, are you using the new parking lot or the old parking lot? The new parking lot on Mountain Ave site.
Could you step up to the podium? I think Councilor Novoselsky has some construction issues.
And now, I know there's going to be a lot of noise between, girders going up and riveting and welding. What's going to be done to protect the residents from these noise? And I don't know if it goes to you or...
Well, I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that there's not going to be any noise, because there will be noise. But we are cognizant of that. And, there's certain things that we can do within our control. Obviously, the most important thing in controlling noise is the equipment we use. And the newer equipment are made with sound attenuation, as opposed to the older equipment, which really doesn't have that. So, we're going to be working closely with Bill and his staff in terms of the real noisy activities. We'll have to hold off maybe a little later in the morning. But it's construction, so there will be some noise. There will be dust, although we'll do our best to mitigate that by keeping the site, moist, wet, especially during periods of prolonged dry periods. But really, it's really in controlling the noise, it's really the equipment you use, and if you get the right equipment with the right sound attenuation, you can control that pretty well.
Are they doing any pile driving?
There's
Or
no
is it all-
pile driving, no.
No?
The
Okay.
building is situated on conventional concrete footings and using concrete walls. So, there will be excavation, so there will be a backhoe. But if it has the proper mufflers, which it will, the sound will be, you'll hear it, but it'll be minimal.
Good. Thank you very much. On my comment, Mr. Chairman, I just want to say, as far as the lighthouse is concerned, I have had a lot of friends go up there. Thank God I haven't had any relatives have to use the facility. But I know they are a class act, and I look forward to a nice, beautiful facility when they're through. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor. If there's, is there any further discussion from the subcommittee members? If not, I'll make some brief comments, and I agree with the fact that the lighthouse is an integral facility for in our city. It's something that allows our community to stay together, our aging community to stay together. It's a place where people can go in their convalescence or in, unfortunately, their final days and still be close to their families who live in Revere, and I think that's really, really, really important, and I'm glad to see that you're upgrading the facility. The only question I have, Bill, is you're aware of the site plan review recommendations on the last proposal, and that they'll be applicable to this one. Is that correct? That's correct. All right. I'll entertain a motion to report this out favorably with the site plan review recommendations. All in favor on the committee? This will be reported out favorably to the next regular meeting of the City Council. The City Council President then will decide whether it should be voted on at that point. I anticipated that it will be, and that will be on that'll be on a special meeting of April 2nd at 6 p.m. in this chamber. And as I say, I anticipate that the Council President will order a vote on this matter after it's reported out of committee. So thank you very much for your presentation, gentlemen. Next order of business is special permit C-13-03 for Kids Only After School, seeking a special permit to construct a second-floor addition and to change the use of the existing structure to enable the appellant to operate an after-school program facility at Lot 66C and Lot 67 at 85 Broadway, Revere, Massachusetts. Someone is at the microphone already. State your name and your address, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Sean Donahue. Honorable members, I represent the applicant in this matter for Kids Only After School.
Could you give us your address, sir?
Sure. It's 88 Black Falcon Avenue, Boston, Massachusetts.
Continue. We did have a public hearing on this, as you're aware.
Yes.
A couple of things have been brought to my attention. My understanding is that you have some objection to this subcommittee meeting, number one. I don't know if you would rather address that now, or if you would like me to read the letter that you sent to the council president into the record, or both.
Sure. I can address that. I submitted a letter this morning to the president of the city council, Mr. Novaleski, expressing our objection to a special zoning subcommittee meeting this evening on the application, as it's our contention that pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 9, the City Council, which is a special permit granting authority here in the city of Revere in this particular circumstance, has convened a public hearing. Evidence has been taken in connection with that public hearing, and it's my reading of the statute, 40A, Section 9, that the subcommittee, that the City Council has the election, if you will, to refer this to a committee of its members to hold that public hearing, but in this particular instance, it was the City Council itself that decided to conduct the public hearing and not refer it out to a subcommittee.
Is that the sum of your objection right there?
Yes.
Well, I've read the statute, and I respectfully disagree. I see nothing in the statute that does not permit the city council from deliberating, which you have to understand, we are a deliberative body. That's what we do.
Right, I agree.
And when we have a public hearing, we do it for the purposes of educating the public and ourselves on the project at the first instance. It's a requirement of the statute. But that not to say that we can't have further deliberations, and that's what this body does. We deliberate it further. We solicit any further information. We discuss it among ourselves here, and as is required by the open meeting law. In fact, what you're suggesting would be that we wouldn't be able to deliberate at all if we weren't able to send it to a subcommittee or some other forum such as this. We have to have a public meeting to do this. So at this point, I'll note your objection, and I'll ask if you have any other matters that you would like to elucidate on regarding the initial presentation or anything else you'd like to discuss about the project.
No, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else have any
Thank
comments at this point?
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, I know this has kind of gone back and forth with respect to some certain conditions of this special permit, but I'd just like to say that in the aggregate, what we're looking to do here, or what they're looking to do here, will be a positive thing for the city. You know, I know sometimes these special permit applications, because of one reason or another, can get a little bit contentious, and I guess that's all part of the process. But if we look at it for what it is, it's we've got an old building down the end of Broadway that presumably is going to turn into a good-looking building with a very useful and noble purpose, and that is to take care of children with respect to after-school programs and the like. So, you know, I am here obviously as a proponent, hoping that the City Council does vote favorably on this. I think it'll be a good use of that property, and it will also be a property that's going to serve and continue to serve children of our community, you know, and also parents who look to for Kids Only, who's operated here in the city for a long time, to take care of their children and child care needs. So I do hope that that the council takes that into consideration and looks favorable on this special permit application. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Mr. Mayor, very much.
Mr. Chairman, members of the City Council, my name is John Festa, Director of Economic Development in the City of Revere, and just want to reiterate some of the comments that the Mayor stated. I am here as a proponent of this project. We feel that this could be an economic stimulus to the Broadway revitalization. It coincides with the master plan that we do have for the Broadway area in the next 2-3 year period. And as the Mayor stated, we feel that this is the type of operation that would be suitable for the Broadway area. It is the way the building looks now and compared to what it will be in the future it will change drastically. And we just feel from an overall perspective that this could really jumpstart a lot of future projects that are coming on board very, very soon. So I just want to speak in favor of this, and hopefully your honorable body will support this endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Festa. Anybody else like to speak from the audience before I ask the subcommittee if they'd have any questions of any of the speakers? Okay. Do any of the subcommittee members, Councilor Correggio?
Yes, I'd like to speak in favor. The area of Broadway near Revere Beach Parkway needs to be cleaned up and upgraded. And again, it's about educating children. This building will be an asset to the city of Revere, and will do a lot, especially for education for children. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Correggio.
Thank you. First, let me start by saying that I'm absolutely for the proposal. I said that at the public hearing, and I still stand by that. I think that it's a great project. It looks beautiful. It's a great company we'll be working with, and anything for the kids I'll obviously be for. I only have one concern about the proposal that I brought up briefly at the last meeting that we had. It was under my understanding that there was another party that was interested in purchasing the land prior to this, and they declined it because of contaminated soil. I guess there was a tank underground before, and I just want to make sure that before we put kids in this building, just we know what's going on, and I'm sure you guys have already addressed this, but just so the public knows, because there are concerns about this. So if anyone has an answer about the situation now, or if
If
the
I could-
property and the abutting properties have been cleaned?
If I could add something to that, there are, which we haven't discussed as of yet, there are several conditions site plan review has requested at this point, one of which is that there be a assessment done and the results of the assessment be given to the building department before a building permit would be authorized. But you could possibly suggest, discuss that. Your name and address, please.
Lawrence Keegan, 194 Essex Street, Salem, Mass. Just to answer directly to the question, prior to the purchase of 85 Broadway, we did hire an environmental company that came in, and they dug the contamination. It was in an oil tank that had leaked over the years, and the oil tank was removed, as well as all of the contaminated earth. And it was then tested before, during, after again, and after again. And it has come 100% clean. And we have all the paperwork to officially show anyone. And I believe it's called a 21E. We do have the 21E on that piece of property. You're welcome.
Any other questions, Councilor Janino? Councilor Haas?
I basically had the same question. Has that 21E been submitted to the city yet?
Yes, I believe it has, and it's also been submitted to the state.
Okay, so the building department does have a copy of it?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
A couple of comments that not basically pertaining to you, but a couple of comments I've received, okay, is the parking. Now, we mentioned the last time they want to have no parking in front of 15-minute parking. Anyone knows Broadway, you have bumper from 107 to the Casasa overpass all day long, and especially from 4 to 6 every night, and in the morning when the children are going to school. I don't know how this will be an improvement myself to the Broadway redevelopment, as the previous speaker indicated, because I have 3 children and I take them to various schools, and I don't see an economic boom because all you do is drop the child off and you pick up the child when the class is over. You don't stick around to do anything, spend any money, spin off effect for the areas, because the only business you have there is a bar across the street, the Speakeasy. You have Rainers, who is dying for parking in the area, and they've been there for many, many years. So I don't know if we're going to vote on this evening. I have some serious questions about it. And last week I spoke in favor of it, but questions to ask. Tony mentioned about a pilot program. I mean, where are we with that? How can you vote on something blind? No one's even brought that up this evening. At least I hope someone brings it up, if there's going to be a pilot program, and that's why I'll refer to Councilor Zambudo. All done.
Thank you. Councilor Zambudo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, although I'm not on this committee. The potential pilot program, if there ever was one, is one, could be one, has nothing to do with the special permit, per se. So for the purposes of this meeting, I think it's more important to talk about the parking and the other issues that are serious issues. We talked about Lighthouse being a good neighbor. One of the parts of their good neighbor is that they have a pilot program, but that's not part of a special permit, and it's not going to affect the way I vote on this special permit. If there's a pilot program or no pilot program, if I feel that I can't overcome these parking issues and other issues, I'm going to vote no. So, that's what I do up here. I don't hinge my vote on whether or not, but special permits have nothing to do with pilot programs. We know that. Thank you.
Well, and I know other councils want to speak. I should, and as I suggested earlier, that I reviewed the statute, and I think there's something significant in the first part of the statute. I'm actually going to read it to the extent that it might impact the conditions that we're suggesting. And as I said to you earlier, there are a list of conditions, 14 conditions in no particular order that site plan review is recommended. At this point, I'm not going to read them entirely into the record until we kind of figure out what's going to happen here. But the zoning ordinance, Chapter 40A, Section 9, alluded to earlier, states in its first paragraph that zoning ordinances or bylaws shall provide for specific types of uses which shall only be permitted in specified districts upon the issuance of a special permit. This is not one of those uses that is permitted in this area or has been permitted in this area. Continuing to read, special permits may be issued only for uses which are in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance or bylaw, and shall be subject to general or specific provisions set forth therein. And such permits may also impose conditions, safeguards, and limitations on time or use. Now, I read that as not specifically excluding the pilot agreement, although I would agree with Councilor Zambudo that that is not an essential portion of the use. There are some other issues, however, have been alluded to earlier, and I'll allow the councilors to continue. Councilor Novoselsky. Sorry, Councilor Zambudo.
Just if I can add, there was a discussion with the attorney at the beginning, and I wrote the ordinance on special permits, or I rewrote it, that there was some talk about why this meeting is even happening. You cannot vote on a special permit until it goes to committee and is reported out by said committee. Can't vote on a special permit here. So that's the reason for this meeting, and I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Councilor Zambudo. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I do have some concerns. I still question what the drop-off zone is going to look like, whether or not they're going to ask for meters to be removed, 15-minute parking, 30-minute parking, whatever it may be. I'm concerned about the impact on the neighborhood and the business district as far as the traffic is concerned, and that's number 2 on the site plan review is the traffic management plan. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see what it looks like. I just don't want to vote on it and say, yeah, it's going to happen and it's going to be there. I want to see it. If I'm going to vote on something, I want to know what I'm voting on. And I'm concerned about the loss of tax base and taking property off the rolls. I know it's going to be a beautiful building, but I have that concern about giving up 30 parking spaces that could potentially, that anybody else would have needed. I'm concerned about the 11 spaces that are going to be on the site, one of which is going to be handicap accessible, and I understand they have 9 people working in that facility. Is that correct, Drew? So 9 people. So you have 11 spaces, 1 handicap, so you have 10 left for 9 people that work in the place. What do you do with visitors? You still have other businesses in the neighborhood that have to be dealt with. And right now, traffic is difficult. And parking is difficult. I did look at the list of people that signed the petition. I have a concern with that. It looked like to me that there were only 3 homes in the immediate vicinity in that block that signed in favor of this. Everybody else was from North Revere, Beachmont, in other neighborhoods, but not in that particular neighborhood. And I'm not saying that they didn't come up and didn't speak against it, that they didn't want it, but it just seems that the couple hundred names that they have on these 4 pages, Endicott Ave, Broad Sound Ave, Library Street, North Shore Road. I have issues. It's not in the immediate area that the people that really got a good taste of the neighborhood that really wants it. So I have some serious concerns. I would like to see, again, the traffic management plan. I want to see the plan of the parking lot stormwater drainage system that has to be installed. And I would like to see the environmental hazardous material assessment that was supposed to be performed and filed with the Board of Health prior to the issuance of a building permit. Well, I'd like to see it prior to the vote. You know, I think those are some things that we should see and we should be concerned about. And again, I'm not against the kids. There's a lot of good daycare and after-school programs around the city, and a lot of them we can't even vote on because they pop up automatically just because they're state licensed. So, and I believe if this is a case with, I don't know if this after-school program would require a state license, but would they have to come in front of us if they didn't have to build a second story? I don't know if anybody has an answer to that.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
The question is, would they have to come before us for a special permit if they didn't have to build a second story?
We didn't get any decision on the denial of the application from the building department specifically, did we? As to the, and let me read the, I'll read that into the record if we can find it here. And while the clerk is looking for that, Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there certainly is a need for this type of facility in the city of Revere. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I think the structure, when it's added onto, will certainly enhance the downtown area of the city, driving into the city. I know there are some issues with parking. I'm sure those will be resolved. My central issue is a tax agreement with the city of Revere, and I'd like to know if that has been done yet, if the committee chair, members of the committee have any knowledge of that. I know that there are many, many facilities in the city where they have tax agreements, not many, but several. And I spoke with the assessors probably a week or two ago, and they told me that some of the agreements are in the 60% area. And again, before I can vote on any facility such as this, where there's an in lieu of taxes agreement, I'd like to see what that agreement is, and because this city, as we all know, we're struggling like every other city in town. There are people in this city that are retirees, elderly people that are living on pensions, fixed income, and they're struggling to pay their tax bills. So assuming that all of the other conditions are met, I would like to see a tax incentive agreement before this body, before I could vote intelligently. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilor Powers. Any other councilors care to speak? Councilor Penta.
Thank you. It happens to be my ward. I appreciate it. Mr. Chairman, let me speak. The only thing I'm flabbergasted here, we spoke on this 3 weeks to a month ago. And every person, and Councilor Janino basically said it, this is for the kids. It's not, you know, how much money is the city making and everything. It's to get kids off the street. And she had a valid point of cleaning up the area. And I think another councilor a few weeks ago said he knew someone that wanted to buy it and walked away from it. Councilor Gino said the same thing. There was major problems there. This outfit came in and took it and cleaned up the area. I mean, do we pass on and let it sit there for another 6 years? I don't know. Someone else made a comment. How does this revitalize Broadway? Hello, the aesthetics of
Point
Broadway.
of information.
The aesthetics of Broadway is what we're trying to clean up.
What's your point, Councilor Hess?
The point is, I made that comment, and a building will not enhance economic growth in Broadway. There's no way.
It beautifies the area, Councilor, and
I said
it's
that-
a
I
trouble
said-
and affects
Coun-
other people.
All right, gentlemen.
I mean,
I said that,
the reason
but don't
we-
misconstrue
You
what I
did say it,
said.
and I didn't mention your name. I didn't want to offend you.
Well, you don't,
Oh.
Richard,
Well,
you
we are all
cannot,
here,
mention your
Council
name.
Penta.
Richard, you cannot offend me, believe me.
Continue, Council
Sure I
Penta.
can't.
Continue, Council Penta.
I'm sure I can't, 'cause what went on in this city when you
Continue
were
with
mayor
your
is another
point.
story.
Continue with
But
your point, Councilor
Nothing went
Penta.
on. My point is an empty building there. Something's going to go there. What's going to go there if this doesn't go there, I don't know. But all the names, last 3 weeks ago, everybody spoke very, very in favor of this. You can watch the tape, everybody can. Now all of a sudden you have different issues. I heard the traffic issue, and it is an issue. They mentioned they're going to stagger people leaving there. These are the things that were said. They were going to ask for a drop-off point out front. They were going to leave a space for a van that picks up kids in one of those 11 spaces. They have enough spaces for the help. There's 9, 11 jobs there. So we don't care about jobs in the city anymore. And every kid on that list was from Revere. That's my main concern. Every single one of them on that list is from Revere. Councilman Novoselsky mentioned from Beachmont here. Don't we represent the whole city here? I mean, there's kids throughout the city going to use this, utilize it. But for some reason, this thing has been put off. I mentioned at the last meeting that we should have this thing ASAP, who starts in September, but for some reason, we had off meetings. Monday, I was ready to come here. If I didn't look at my email at 12 o'clock, I would have been here Monday night. But it's tonight. We have a special meeting on Tuesday night, I believe, to take this vote up, to take 2 issues up. Now I'm hearing we'll postpone it, get this, let's get more information. And we can stay till 12 o'clock at night and ask all these questions. I have no problem with that. But to prolong it is to say no. I've been on this council long enough. When you put stuff in committee and you want to kill something, you can do it. So all I'm saying is I don't know what happened from one week to the other. I mean, you know, parking is an issue, you solve it. I heard that last week with the McKinley School, the Hill School. You know, we'll solve it. There's a problem down the parks. If there's a problem, we'll take it and we'll solve it as a city. So you take the negatives for the better. I mean, is it a perfect world there? No. But I don't want to see it's in my what. I don't want to. And we had a neighborhood meeting. Those letters went out 300 feet down the streets. Nobody showed up. A couple people called me, not against it. The director butter is actually for it. So to say there was no people notified or anything else, that's just another poor excuse. All I'm saying is think of the kids. Whatever reasons you have that you change your mind in this thing, I don't know what happened from one speech to another, but I'm ready to vote for this thing Tuesday night. You have site plan reviews, conditions, and the aesthetics of the building is what is going to revitalize Broadway. What you're looking at when you're driving down the street if you're going to come here and invest in the city. That's a lot to do with it, not how much you make off it. They agreed to pay taxes. And Councilor Powers is right. He wants to know what the figures are. I don't blame him. But those figures should be presented to us before we vote. I agree with that. I mean, these are issues that we should be concerned about. But to make far-fetched, reaching things here, like it's the end of the world, how many things have we put through? Here's a small little building, all right, nonprofit, for 120 kids in the city, after school, the families really rely on this. There's people from Revere that work there, and how many had to go through what they're going through? I'll rest my case with that, because you people have to look in the mirror when you go home. I do that every single time I have a meeting, and I can look at myself. Thank you.
You can enjoy that, Councilor Penta. I enjoy looking at you all the time. Before I allow Councilor Patch to speak, in answer to Councilor Zambuto's question as to the reason of the denial of the building permit, I'll read site plan reviews comments of January 22nd. Please be advised that the Site Plan Review Committee has reviewed the above referenced site plan for the expansion of a non-conforming structure at 85 Broadway for the purpose of constructing a second-floor addition and to change the use of the existing structure to an after-school program facility. In accordance with Section 17.40.030 of the revised Revere zoning ordinance, the expansion of a non-conforming structure shall only be allowed by special permit from the City Council. In addition, the special permit, a variance is required from the ZBA with respect to noncompliance with minimum parking requirements. That was apparently granted by the ZBA. But as far as this body is concerned, meaning the City Council, we need to approve any expansion of a non-conforming structure by ordering a special permit. So that's the answer to that question. Councilor Patch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did get some calls on this, but on the matter of the contaminated land, and that was answered tonight. That I want to commend the people for cleaning that up. That was an issue that I was had a question about. I also had a question about how many children, how many students you're going to have there, or how many kids you're going to have there, and I think, I don't know if Councilor Penta just said 120 a day. Okay, I think, first of all, I'm strongly against empty buildings in the city. I've seen what I've done to the police station here, and I want to see something go in that building. And of course, I'm with the children. The only I do have a little problem with the location, with the safety of the children. That they're basically going to be inside the whole time. Is that correct? Okay, because it is a very busy intersection there. But other than that, I have no problem voting for this. I think it's when you can help out families with young kids, and I think it's a great thing. I mean, and plus it solves the problem of the empty building. So I'll be voting for it. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Patch. Councilor Gunasso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a member of your subcommittee, and I thank you for allowing me to speak. Initially, when the public hearing was conducted, you heard a very favorable tone coming from this council based on the fact that on that particular evening we were speaking of a facility for children where it would take some kids after school and put them in a program which they could allow their parents to work, and at the same time their kids could be educated in some form. But to the attorney, in all the years I've served as a city council, you're the first one, sir, who has challenged the makeup of how the council conducts its business. It was alluded to by the council president that it's part of our rules of order, and that's what we go by. And what it does, sir, it affords each and every one of us to get the vital questions answered that we have that have been asked by our constituents. So we're doing due diligence with our constituents. So we have every right in the world to hold as many hearings as we need and deem necessary. This, I know it's hard to get the difference between when attorneys represent something in a court of law, they have different standards. This is a city council chamber. We don't go by the court of law. We go by rules of conduct, by probably Robert's Rules of Order. But we do have some semblance of order, and that's what our council is all about. And there is a very valid concern about the tax. What kind of money is going to be derived by the citizens of Revere to this property? Because we're taking a taxable property, even though it's not in the condition that we all want it to be in, and we're going to remove it from the tax base if we don't get a tax basis from you. And you did send some sort of a correspondence on that also, which gave us like sort of a time frame. It was like do it or don't. And when I, as an individual, when a gun is put to my head, I usually say shoot, because I'm not gonna budge. And that's not the type of format that we want to conduct this in. We want to achieve two goals here. We want to make sure that you're happy, and we want to make sure that the people of Revere are well represented. And certainly we want this facility for our children. We all want that. I mean, we want the kids to have a place to go afterwards. But we also have to look at many things, as a couple of councilors have mentioned, public safety of the children. Now, I'm kind of taken back by the fact that there's no outdoor facility for the kids to, because that's the big theme of today's world. Michelle Obama, this is exercise, exercise, exercise. That's today's world, and it's not going to be provided in this facility because you can't, because of the public safety factor. So we have the right to ask these very, very valid questions, and I applaud each and every one of the members of the council and the mayor and his staff for coming forward and presenting what the picture looks like. But we do reserve the right to ask questions. And that way, when the finished product is done, we're going to get something that's good. And so we want to work with you. We want this to happen, but we want, make sure that it's fair for everybody. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Canasso. Councilor Arrigo, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of weeks ago, I did speak in favor of the project generally, and I still am generally in favor. I think that it will do a good job of maybe being an anchor down Broadway. I am a little bit surprised to hear that there was a neighborhood meeting because I was not informed of that. And as a member of the council that does represent everybody, the whole city, I would have liked to have attended that. And there are some concerns, and I think that what we need to do, and it's our job to make informed decisions. And I like to have, as we went through the McKinley process, I think everyone knows that I like to have as much information in front of me to make that informed decision. And, if there are things that we can get as far as the environmental study, and traffic impact, I think I would like to see those pieces of information before we move forward. But I'm still, in favor of the project. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Arrigo. I have some grave concerns about, well, grave is probably too strong a word. I have some concerns about 2 or 3 of these issues. The first of which is traffic. On Broadway constantly, that end of Broadway, and I might remind Councilor Penta that the project borders on Ward 4 as well. But at the hours that I believe this program will be letting people in and out of this, some of the most critical hours in traffic coming in from Revere Beach Parkway onto Broadway. And I'm very concerned about this. I've actually asked the clerk to draft a letter to Sergeant Cristianino, our traffic expert, to see if he would be willing to do some form of a preliminary, at least, traffic study on this. I think that's of vital importance, the most significant to me. The other issue that has come up is the 21E study. If it has been done, and I don't doubt that it has been done and that it is has been performed as was suggested, but I think that we have an obligation to take a look at that at this point, despite the fact that the site plan review is asking for it to be provided to them prior to a building permit is concerned. I think that's of vital importance to us as to whether or not we're willing to allow a special permit at all. Lastly, there has been a lot of talk of the so-called pilot agreement. And after reviewing the statute, as I said I had earlier today, I wonder whether that is a permissible condition of a special permit. And I do not know the answer to that. But I am willing to suggest that our city solicitor, Paul Capizzi, would be able to provide some form of an opinion on that, and I would like to see it before we discuss this, or before we put this thing to a vote. And I think I've heard enough from the city councils here tonight to suggest that there are several that would like to do that too. My understanding, and this special permit requires 8 votes. It's as simple as that. So if we leave these questions unanswered, it's going to be very difficult, from my view, to get 8 votes for this project. So I'm going to ask the clerk to re-engage Sergeant Giannino and ask him if he could possibly give us some preliminary kind of a traffic assessment, observe the traffic down there and give us some sort of a report. He may want to get in touch with the petitioners regarding the times and places and events that are going to impact the traffic in the process of his formulating his report. So I would suggest that you be available to him. I'm also going to ask the city clerk at this point to request an opinion from the city solicitor regarding the payment in lieu of tax agreement. And lastly, I'm going to ask the petitioner to provide copies of at least the cover letter for the 21E and a full copy to the city clerk of the entire 21E prior to our next meeting, zoning subcommittee meeting, which I'll try to arrange within the next couple of weeks, if council, assuming Sergeant Janino can complete the task that we've asked him to. I would remind you that we have 90 days from the date of the application or the public hearing, public hearing, which was about 4 weeks ago, exactly, about 30 days ago. So I'm not inclined to move on this until we get some of these answers that we're seeking. And I think, frankly, it's to the benefit of the proponent at this point, from what I've gathered from the city council, to provide those answers and get some more information. So I will keep this in committee. Hopefully we'll get a subcommittee meeting going within a time frame that is acceptable to everybody, but still allows us to get the information that we need, the further information that we need.
Mr. Chairman, point of information.
Certainly.
Just time is of the essence. In other words, they have to build. They have so many weeks to build. I'm not trying to force you to push this thing or whatever, but I think that, with the mayor being here, some of the stuff that you requested, be as expedient as we could to get back to the council. They don't open in September, those kids have nowhere to go. And we keep pushing it back, which that's the intent of some people, that's up to them. But all I'm saying is we should have had more information than this by now.
Possibly so.
It's been a month.
You may be right, but the problem is we do not have the information. We require the information, and if this, I dare say, my gauge of this thing, and I usually have a fairly good gauge, if this were to put to a vote without this information, it would not pass.
I understand that.
All right, so rather than have the applicant be disappointed at the end of the day, I think we're better off taking our time, getting the information. I mean, I'm sorry that this doesn't comport with the applicant's building plans, but the solution to that was to request a special permit a month before that. And I don't fault anybody. I understand that sometimes these things don't happen, but we can't compress our requirements to conform with the applicant for the special permit. This is a special permit. This is not something by right. We have to live with this after it's done. Once it's done, it's done. We can't go back and say, oh, geez, we shouldn't have done that. Now there's too much traffic.
But, Mr. Chairman, I think you're missing my point. All my point is you have very well concerns. I'm not saying you don't, or the council, is that we can get information as quick as possible, and we can get it quick when we want it. That's my point. All I'm saying is we knew a month ago the questions of park and everything else. We should have been a lot further than we are now. All I'm saying is let's be fair to the applicant that we get this stuff as soon as possible. 2 weeks down the road, I don't know what Officer Gino's schedule is or not. It might be a month and a half. I don't know.
It could be.
It could be a couple of days, too.
It could be a month, could be a
So,
couple of
I
days.
don't
When
know.
I get the information, I'll schedule the meeting, Counselor.
Thank
As
you.
the chairman of this subcommittee, I should be accorded that opportunity
Oh, you do.
to determine whether or not the information that we've asked for here has been provided. And then when I get it, we'll call a meeting. It's as simple as that. I don't see, does anybody else here see a problem with that?
No, all I'm saying is you usually have meetings every Monday night before the council. All of a sudden, this one went a month off schedule. It's just funny, for 14 months,
Counselor,
that's how
you
they
were
went.
well aware of the issues that we were facing with the new school and the variety of meetings that we had and how difficult it was
sat here
scheduling that.
meetings
Well,
over
Counselor,
7 o'clock at night.
frankly, Counselor, you should have brought that objection up at some other time rather than now. Now we need information, and now we're going to wait until we get the
Counselor, I
information.
understand
And we'll
exactly where you're
act when
coming
we
from.
get the
Trust me.
information.
I understand where you're
Thank you
coming
very
from. I
much.
think everybody else
That's
does
the
too.
last matter on the agenda this evening. I'm going to close the hearing. I'm sorry? Certainly.
Thank you. My name is Debbie Nealon Keegan, and my address is, my administrative office is 194 Essex Street in Salem. I feel, I hear what you're saying in terms of your questions and answers needed, and I just want to respond to some of the questions that the council has. I feel I'm a little anxious because I somewhat feel attacked right now, and I have to represent the children and families that I serve in the city. One of the first questions that I heard was regarding the petition, that it was signed by family members throughout the entire city. The reason being is presently we service over 100 children and families in the entire city. We don't serve just a neighborhood, nor will this new facility serve solely one neighborhood in the city. Our intention is to make access open to all children, kindergarten through grade 8, during their out-of-school time hours that reside in the city of Revere and attend the Revere Public Schools. Somebody asked a question regarding the economic stimulus or the economic benefits to this proposal, and I truly believe that there's going to be huge economic value for the community because, number one, it's going to allow parents to work. Our contract, we are a licensed provider through the Department of Early Education and Care. And we have a very large contract with the Department of Early Education and Care, with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, to provide care for low-income, at-risk working families, the children of those. So this is going to allow families to continue to work. It's also going to allow children to be safe and off the streets and to be able to expand their learning. We know through research that $1 spent on children, we save $7 later on in crime reduction and keeping our streets safe, and children's minds active, and children being able to have a place where they can form relationships with positive, caring adults that take the place of their parents while their parents are at work. So I truly believe that there is an economic value to this. In addition to that, these children are going to grow up to be productive, giving community citizens. A part of our curriculum is about community service learning. It's about teaching young people how to give back to the community in many ways, whether it's helping to plant a garden. If you look at City Hall right now, those photos on that main floor, those are our kids. That's for kids only, helping rebuild playgrounds, painting those playgrounds, making them a better place for them to live and for the community to live in. The question regarding the pilot and the question regarding my attorney's response today, the letter, the reason why this is all happening is because we've been hearing from so many different chiefs of the City Council, and not all of you, but there's been a number of different voices being told to me what the demands and the conditions will be in order for us to build in terms of a pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes. I said we were amenable, and I truly mean that. We want to contribute to the city, and we will do the best we can. This is a small project. This is less than $2 million. It's small, and our operating budget is under $1 million. There isn't a lot of room. We get $22 a day from the state to provide for children to come. We offered, I've done a lot of research on pilots. I've talked to a lot of my colleagues. Right now in the state of Massachusetts, I know it's hot right now. I know pilots are big right now, and there's a lot of conversations. The average right now is 25% is what nonprofits voluntarily pay if they can. In the city of Boston, only if the property value is assessed over $15 million are the nonprofits asked to pay. And those are nonprofits such as Harvard, your big medical institutions. I spoke with a colleague of mine who's vice president of Wheelock and also of Northeastern University. They don't even pay. What they do in lieu of taxes is they give back. So they have professional development offered at their sites. They give scholarships to students. We can give back that way too. But what was offered, what was asked for us to pay, which we were amenable to, was 60%. There's no such thing in the state of Massachusetts, except for here in Revere, that wanted 60%. Now, in addition to that, now, on top of that, after the 60%, which equaled $8,000, we were then told, no, $8,000 isn't enough by one member of the council. We want $10,000. Well, I asked the question, where did the $10,000 come from? There's no formula with $10,000. It didn't represent any number to me or it didn't make sense. And that's why we said no. You can't just say arbitrarily, okay, it'll be 10,000. Well, we'll start with 8, and then year 2, 9, and then maybe 10, and we'll cap it at 10. And we're doing you a favor by capping it at 10. No, that's not how it should be as a condition to build. And that's why we stalled, and that's why we stopped trusting.
Let me stop you. No, you can't.
Yes.
Let me stop you right there.
Yep.
First of all, nobody on the subcommittee suggested that. And what I'm going to suggest, but let me...
That's not true.
On the subcommittee.
Well, is this the whole subcommittee?
No.
Oh.
Let me just stop you right there.
Okay.
I'm going to make a
Well, on the
suggestion.
council.
I'm going to make a suggestion that maybe we can get by this. If you have a figure in mind, my suggestion is that you discuss it with the clerk. And then, the assessor's office. And if the assessors want to give us some advice on that, they'll inform the clerk, and we can discuss it at the next meeting. I note that it is a suggestion of site plan review. While I'm not entirely certain that it's in the purview of site plan review to make such a suggestion,
Right.
one of my proposals was this evening was to ask the city clerk to ask the city solicitor if it was proper to include that as a potential, again, I'm not saying definite, but a potential condition of issuing a special permit. I have seen no figures. I have seen nothing. And I don't think anybody on my subcommittee has seen anything by way of that. This was probably the time to present something like that. I know that there was another city councilor that was in negotiations, so-called negotiations, someone from your organization. I have not heard a specific figure. My understanding was that it was from that person that it might have been accepted or accepted in principle, and then it was back to something else. I don't know, and frankly, I don't care. I think that if you have a proposal, you admit that you agreed to participate in some form of a pilot.
Yes.
You give the opportunity.
Right.
You have the opportunity to make a proposal, and I
But-
suggest you do it.
Yes. Well, we have it right here, which is in writing to Chairman Iovana, and that was written on March 20th with our proposal. But then it was not accepted, I guess. I don't know. I've never heard. Here's our proposal, right here for a pilot.
Ultimately, we're the ones that accept it. Ultimately,
And you've never seen it. So can I just finish, though? So,
Please,
the
and
but I
please
don't
be
want.
brief.
But what I ask the council is, please don't make those conditions to build a program. You have no Boys and Girls Club here. You don't have a YMCA here. After school, where do the children go? They go to dance class. They go to basketball. They go to soccer. They go all over the city, and they're all being dropped off. But for some reason, the traffic management plan for being dropped off at a program where there are no parents. That's why they're coming to us, because they can't go to basketball. They can't go to football. They can't go to soccer. Their families can't take them. Their families have to work. They're poor working families a lot of times. And you know what? If they don't go to work, they don't get paid. So we're talking about critical needs of children that are at risk if they don't come to this program. So I think the pilot, to me, we want to we want to be good neighbors. We want to give back to the city. We believe in this city. We want to grow this city. My roots are from the city. I told you that. My father was born and raised here. I believe in Revere, and I want to service Revere's children. And somebody asked the question about and mentioned Michelle Obama. She just wrote us a letter complimenting us. Do you realize this is going to be the first health and fitness center in the state of Massachusetts? This is going to be big. Revere is going to put the first licensed by the Department of Early Education and Care Health and Fitness Center in operation. So we are offering health and fitness and wellness nutrition activities. We're going to have a nutritional cafe. We're going to have a science, technology, engineering lab for children. It's going to be all Wi-Fi access. We're going to have a dance and yoga room. We're going to have an athletic room. We're going to have a certified health and fitness instructor. We're going to work very closely. I just left the United Way today. They are fully behind us. The Children's Investment Fund is supporting this. The Mass Development Fund is supporting this. This is a huge win for our city's children and families. And I don't think a pilot should stand in the way. And again, we want to support the city, but you can't bury us before we start. We're talking a very small budget, $1 million. I'm not even taking right now. There's nothing. It's bare bones budget.
All right, thank you so much.
Wait,
I
one more
appreciate
thing.
your advocacy. No, you're done.
Well, because I want to answer one more question, because somebody asked a question which is very important to me.
You have a minute.
Okay. The program, somebody asked the question about licensed programs that are just popping up in the city. If they are, they shouldn't be. It's against the law. No program can operate in this city with a full inspection by the department ongoing inspection, and we will have that, and that will be reported to the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you know, everything you say, I don't think anybody has any qualms about what you're saying, what your program is going to do. We addressed some issues with you tonight that we have, and those are the issues. The parking issue, to some extent, certainly the traffic issue, whether or not the pilot agreement is something that we could expect to include in a condition for your permit. These are the things, and of course the 21E, these are important things to us. You're talking about something different. We don't doubt that your program is going to do all the things you say it's going to do. The problem is we need things done to protect the city, to protect the kids in the city, and to protect our interests and do our job up here. So that's what we're asking you to do, is bring that information to us, and we will consider this then, and I think you'll be in a much better position to get what you want here when you do that.
Right. And we will publicly let everybody know that we will not stop operating. If we have to rent a facility, we will do so. But we will remain in the city, serving our families and children.
And that is
I will do what it
excellent news.
takes.
That is excellent news.
But
because
I
we
hope
want you
that
here.
it can move. Again, I'm not going to say no to the longstanding relationships I've had with the department in terms of funding Revere's children because of a project that cannot go forward. So we will continue to work in the city as best we can on behalf of children and families.
Very good. Thank you very much. That's the final matter before the zoning subcommittee, so I'll take a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Meeting's adjourned.